YouTube. We are live. Good afternoon. This is Ashley Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. I am here today to talk about a specific topic that is really prevalent right now, right? But again, welcome back to my channel. Here we talk all about mental health and career changes, challenges, and issues, right? My name again is Ashley Nicole. I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm also a career coach helping individuals kind of navigate work stress, burnout, career challenges, workplace stress, how to deal with those toxic managers that you might have. And I'm here today to talk about how to prepare for changes in your career or job, right? We all kind of know that there's a lot going on right now, right? There are a lot of changes with jobs and things of this nature, right? There are a lot of career shifts that are happening, right? And it could kind of be overwhelming for some people. But career shifts or changes in your job, right, can also be opportunities for growth and to kind of reinvent yourself. So we're here to kind of talk about that today. If you're coming into the live, please like the live, please share, right? I know there are a lot of people who are experiencing layoffs right now. And for some, this is like, of course, unfamiliar territory that they're having to deal with, right? So if you know someone who's kind of going through this, all of these changes with their job or career, right, please share this with them so that they can get, some insight or tips or tricks on how to really deal with it, right? If you are considering a career change, if you've been laid off, or even if you're just kind of feeling stuck, let me know in the chat. Again, I am a career coach and I help individuals kind of navigate these situations. Okay, so what is the goal of this live? And if you see me looking down, of course, I have my notes. I always say I'm a list person, I'm a notes person. I have to put it down on paper, right? So the goal of this live is to help you to feel more prepared, more confident, and more clear about your next career move, right? And so the first thing, of course, is what I always talk about. It wouldn't be me, right? Because I'm a licensed mental health counselor, about talking about the mind shift, right? There has to be a mindset shift when it comes to these things, right? Going into accepting and embracing change. A lot of us have challenges with embracing change, right? And so you might be wondering, why does it feel so scary to change or to go to situations where it might be uncomfortable and things of this nature? Well, one of the first things is the fear of the unknown, right? What if I fail at a new position? What if I don't know what I'm doing, right? What if I don't get along with my coworkers? What if I have a terrible manager, right? These are all fears that people might have when it comes to changes in their careers, right? The second thing might be imposter syndrome. We talked about this before in the last slide, right? Even though you're qualified, am I qualified to do this particular job? And sometimes these career shifts happen not because of the employee, right? But maybe there have been changes in the company. And I know people personally who, there are two types of employees when it comes to leadership. One of them is the person who really wants to be in leadership and they are preparing to be leaders, right? But then there's the other person that's pushed into leadership. They really don't want to do it. They've been told you either do this or you don't have a job, right? So they're kind of pushed into that position and they have to kind of really have no choice to accept the change, right? But again, it's that imposter syndrome, right? Am I even qualified to do something else? Especially imagine if you've been on a job for years and now this is what you are used to, going back to the change, right? Okay, the third thing are financial concerns. How are you really going to survive financially when it comes to the transition? And we'll talk about this a little bit more in the live too. The fourth thing is the loss of your identity, right? Some people, their career defines them, right? Like this is all they know, right? This is where they spend the most time. For a lot of people, they spend more time at work than they do with their family, right? So then the thought becomes, I've been in this field for so long. Who am I outside of this? This is very, very important. And this is not only too, when you think about this, for people who work, like in a corporate environment or who go to a job, but this could also be for like stay-at-home moms, right? It's like if you're in this particular position for so long, right? Once the children become adults, it's okay, who am I outside of being a mom? Who am I outside of being a dad? You know what I'm saying? So it's important for people to really kind of hone in on that before those points, but that would be like a whole nother live. Okay, so when it comes to going back to the mindset shift, we have to reframe career change. Not that there's fear, not that there's, that I'm an imposter, not that there are going to be financial concerns or a loss of my identity, right? But that the career change is a fresh start, right? Even if it doesn't feel like it in the beginning, right? It's like what seems like the end of something could really be the beginning of something or an opportunity. And some people really miss out on the opportunity because their mindset is not there to accept the change, right? And I work with clients all the time. People pivot in their careers all the time, even when they are not pushed to do so. I've worked with attorneys, I've worked with project managers, I've worked with, doctors and things like this who, again, they just want to, have a quiet, calm, peaceful life. They want to own a coffee shop, right? They want to, own their own music studio, all kinds of stuff. You'd be surprised, the people that I talk to that want to really pivot. And most times I see that the pivot happens or the thoughts about it come like maybe in the late 30s, early 40s when it comes to the age. Because imagine, especially in your 40s are, and this is in my opinion, just based on people that I've worked with and just my experience with people, right? That when in the 40s is when you're a little bit more sure of yourself. You're a little bit more confident, right? You're a little bit more clear about what you really want in your life. You've had a lot of experience, you have the knowledge, and you are ready in a way to go kind of like to the next step. Okay, so we kind of talked about this before. What are the signs when it's time for a career change? One of the things, again, might be that your company is telling you, yeah, the change is happening, whether you like it or not, right? Things we talked about before, being mentally exhausted, having those Sunday scaries, right? That anxiety that kind of ruins your weekend going into the Monday or the next week, right? Maybe you're being underpaid, you feel undervalued or overlooked at work. But two additional things that I would add here would be that the company that is changing, right? It's changing in a way that doesn't align with you, right? So that could be layoffs, like we kind of talked about, right? Toxic leadership, right? Maybe there's no growth in the company, you know what I mean, right? And then the second thing that I would add to that would be whatever it is that you can't really stop thinking about when it comes to doing something else, right? But fear kind of holds you back. So you really want to maybe have your own business, but you can't stop thinking about it, and you keep going to work every day, right? This might be a clear sign that it's time for you to change your career or make some kind of change within what you are doing. Right? So in the chat, put which of these signs feels the most real for you, right? Are you feeling mentally and emotionally exhausted? Who has the Sunday scaries? Are you being overlooked at work? Is it something else that you really want to do and you feel like, or having the thought that, you know what, yeah, I want to do that, but it's just a dream, you know? Or I can't do that because I have to do XYZ 1, 2, 3. Okay. Right. Okay, so what are some tips to prepare for the transition? Right. One of the things, even before we get to the point where the company decides for you, right, you have to prepare. I'll give you a tip, right? One of the best ways to manage anxiety is to prepare, right? Now, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to know the details of all of the plans, but you will have a guideline, right? The more prepared you are, the less anxiety you're going to have, right? So one of the ways that you can prepare for changes, whether it pops up on you or not, is protecting your stability. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Right? It's your finances, right? You have to be prepared financially. And this means that you have to start budgeting. Everybody. You know what I'm saying? You got to start budgeting, right? You got to have your emergency fund, right? You got to reduce unnecessary expenses, right? It's like you got to be real with yourself. Do you really need 20 pairs of jeans? When you really look at it, you don't. For what? First of all, where are you going? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you really need 20 pairs of jeans? Do you really need 100 pairs of shoes? It's like, really think about it, right? Or can you put that money somewhere where it can really grow for you, right? Something to think about, right? You might look into, now if you get to a point where your job is, your job is being eliminated, your role is being eliminated, things like this, of course, your company, hopefully the company that you work for, will offer some type of severance package, right? You can use that package as leverage to do what you want to do, right? Maybe there is something that you've been wanting to do. I don't know. Maybe it's having your own food truck. Maybe it's, having your, own business in some way, selling things or whatever it might be, right? You can use that to help you really start it. You know what I'm saying? Now, one tip about severance packages is that you can negotiate a severance package, right? Some companies will try to give you the bare minimum. Of course, severance packages, based on what they're going to give you, as far as, monetarily, goes based off of how long you've been with the company. But you can negotiate insurance, right? You can negotiate how many weeks of pay they're going to give you, all of these things. So don't just go with the first offer that they kind of give you. Make sure that you read over all of the paperwork that they gave you. Companies put a lot of clauses into severance packages, right? And so you want to make sure that you are aware and abreast of what's in the clauses, right? But you can definitely negotiate a severance package, right? So you want to make sure, especially if you are told, right, that your job is going to be eliminated, that you really kind of research that, right? And one of the ways to prepare is to diversify your income. Right, this is where you look into side hustles, freelancing, consulting, all of these passive income streams, right? In my opinion, everybody should have at least, if you have a 9-to-5, you should have at least one other thing that you are doing to make you some money, right? it's like everybody has their own unique skills, and you've got to use the skills that you have for your, to your advantage. You know what I mean? And depending on what you believe in, right, you may feel like you have a purpose to do something else or to do something more, right? It's like use that to your advantage to create an income stream for yourself, right? To where if something does happen with your 9 to 5, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You have something to do. You can build up on that. That makes sense. All right. Okay, so the second way or second step to prepare is, of course, updating your resume and your skills, right? You have got to set yourself up for success, right? You have got to identify any gaps that you have with your skills and start learning them now. This means any courses that you might need to take, any certifications that you might need to get, right? Are there any projects that you could be a part of so that you can really learn a skill? There are, especially when it comes to big companies, there are a lot of companies who offer certifications in certain things. For example, there are companies, say for example, if whatever company that you work for and someone's doing, I don't know, customer service or something like this, look into the different programs that that company has as far as learning new things. There are a lot of companies who have coding academies, right? Certifications when it comes to IT, things like this, right? Look into, Google has a lot of certification, modules that you can take and things like that. So you want to identify what are the gaps, right, that you have based on what it is that you want to do and start working on those things, right? Even though you have a 9 to 5, you should always be in that learning mode. Again, because you are preparing yourself, especially if you are a person who, if you are a person who runs off of what ifs, like when you wake up, you thinking about, well, what if? Or what if I don't get what we have to eat for dinner tonight? Well, what if I don't make it to the store? Well, all these what ifs, you got to prepare yourself, right? It's going to be imperative for you to prepare your guideline. So means that, okay, yeah, if something happens to this job, this is my plan B. This is my plan C. Again, not knowing the details, because anything could happen at any time, but you have at least the guideline, right? Okay, you want to, of course, update your resume and your LinkedIn. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of LinkedIn. I don't know what it is about it. It's just, I don't know. However, this is where the recruiters are. They're on LinkedIn. And it's easier for you to create a connection with them, to build a network within LinkedIn, to meet new recruiters, right? To interact and engage with them on that platform, right? So make sure that you update your LinkedIn, make sure that it's reflecting your strengths, your career goals, right? Always kind of make sure this is updated. I really stress to the clients that I have, right? If you have a 9 to 5, you can have the best job in the world, but you have got to keep your options open, right? Your job could be secure, right? And nobody ever really knows this because, again, you're not the CEO of the company, so you don't know if it's really secure or not. You know what I mean? But you got to keep your options open. Means that even though I'm going to my 9 to 5, everything looks good, everything sounds good, but I'm going to interact with recruiters. I want to know kind of what's out there when it comes to the field that I'm in, right? What salaries are being offered out there, right? Maybe if I have this information now, I can negotiate my salary where I am now, when it comes to performance evaluations and all of these things, right? When it comes to the end of the fiscal year, right? I got leverage to really negotiate because I know what the market rate is for what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? Right? Now, one of the things that you also want to do is focus on your transferable skills, right? What you already know can apply in new roles, right? So it really doesn't matter if you haven't done the role previously, right? It's like, what skills do you already have, right, that will help you in the role, right? So for example, if you've worked with leaders before, if you have great public speaking skills, right? If you do presentations on the side, if you know, here's a big one. If you know how to analyze data, right? If you know how to interpret data, if you are an Excel guru, you can pretty much find you something. You know what I mean? Right? Because companies analyze data in order for them to kind of figure out what way they need to move next. You see what I'm saying? So if you're good at that, this is a transferable skill, even though you might not be a data analyst. You see what I'm saying? Even though the current role you're in, you don't look at data on a daily basis, but you are really good at doing that, right? So something to kind of keep in mind, right? Okay, so also, this is a big one. And let me know what you all think about this in the chat. You've got to build like a brand around yourself. You got to have a good personal brand, right? On social media, on LinkedIn, right? Because people are looking. The people at these companies, even if, right, it don't have to be the CEO, but here's the thing, you don't know who you're going to run into. You don't know who you need to build a relationship with, right? So you always want to keep in mind how you are showing up. And that includes on social media too. That includes the comments that you write on social media. Because we know, let's face it, right? The majority of people are on social media at least once a day. You scrolling through at least once a day. And not only are you looking at the post and who, you know, what's being posted, but you are also looking at the comments. You see what I'm saying? This is where you find where some people have social media and they put it on like private or something like that, to where, you know, if companies are looking or trying to figure out what your social media presence is, that they're not really able to see that. You know what I mean? So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But you always want to be aware of how you are showing up, right? And, you know, how you're kind of presenting yourself, because you don't know who's looking. It could not only be to secure a job or things like this, but maybe there's a specific person that you want to be your mentor, right? And now the mentors that I know, they're not going for the foolishness. If they see you acting up on the webs, on the interwebs, no, you're not serious. You see what I'm saying? So something to kind of keep in mind, right? Okay, so the third thing, networking and opportunities. To me, this is the key to growing your career. I think I talked about this before, right? This is a key. I don't know if they still have them, but I'm sure they do. I mean, since 2020, it's changed a little bit, but it used to be where you can do like meet and greets in you know, whatever city that you were in, right? It would be maybe someone like a networking event, right? You go to the networking event, it could be 300 to 500 people there. Everybody brings, you know, their business cards. You might be able to get a little cocktail, little hors d'oeuvres or whatever, and you are just going around meeting people that have different businesses in the city, right? Letting them know what you do, they let you know what they do, right? And you exchange information. Now, when there's an opportunity, the hope is that they might reach out to you. You might need to reach out to them, so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? You've really got to build your network. When it comes to working in corporate or in a company, right, ways that you can do that is, and I know people do not like doing this. People do not, this goes back to the office politics. People don't like doing it. But those happy hours that they go to once a month, right? Those Christmas parties, you know what I'm saying? Those times when they're getting the office together for certain holidays, you know, all of this stuff. I know that you don't want to do it, right? But maybe go to one or two. At least show your face, because it's a strategy, right, to build your network. Because again, you don't know who you're going to need to call. You don't know who you need information from. And what does it look like if you haven't been talking to people? You've been staying to yourself. You haven't been talking to people, right? And all of a sudden you need to call them and ask them about XYZ123. They're going to be like, who is this? Girl, you ain't never talked to me when we was at the job. Like, I don't even know you. You know what I'm saying? So it's a strategy. You know what I mean? In order for you to build your network. You can also do it by joining employee resource groups. Right? This is a great way, because sometimes employee resource groups, they have these different opportunities within those groups to learn new skills. So this is something you might look into, right? So you want to attend any professional groups, right? You might want to engage on LinkedIn. If you are switching fields, or maybe in the company you want to switch departments, I encourage you to shadow someone in the department. And this means that you got to reach out to somebody, doing kind of like a cold call or a cold email. You know what I'm saying? Right? And some people have difficulty with doing this. If you're one of those people, let me know. Don't be afraid. Let me know. I might do a live on ways or how to reach out to someone if you do want to shadow them and you don't know them from a can of paint. You know, if you want to get into a different department, it's like, how do you really do that? Like those types of things, right? But yes, you want to shadow. If you're doing a career pivot or some kind of change, you want to shadow someone that's already doing that. And it doesn't have to be for a long time. This could be like 30 minutes, right? Shadow them, see what they do on a day-to-day basis. See if you really can find yourself in that particular position. It's like, okay, if they're in meetings all day, do I really want to do that? You know what I mean? Do I really see myself being in meetings all day? I don't think so. It may not be the job for me. You know what I'm saying? So something to kind of keep in mind. All right. Okay, so the fourth thing you can do is, you know, of course, be ready mentally and emotionally. You got to manage the stress and the uncertainty when it comes to job changes, right? Again, it can feel like an identity crisis, right? Making space to really process your emotions. It's okay and valid for you to feel like, okay, this is a lot. Okay, what am I really going to do now? You know what I mean? I can't imagine how the people are feeling who have been laid off, especially because it comes from out of nowhere, right? And these types of things, when you've been on a job for so long, you've been in a career for so long, that you get comfortable, right? There aren't really any signs that tell you that things are going to go awry. You know what I mean? Right? But you always want to keep in the forefront of your mind that anything can happen at any time with a job or a career, right? Or at a company that I don't own. If you don't own the company, guess what? Prepare for a career change. If you do not own the company, prepare for a career change, because it ain't yours. And somebody else can make a decision for you, right? Of course, self-care is key, right? Don't let like the job searching and the transition kind of take over your entire life. You got to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. This means keeping the routines that you have every day. Even though you've been laid off, even though, you know, there has been a transition in your job and things like this, you still want to make sure that you're getting up at the same time every day. You still want to make sure that you are eating breakfast every day. You still want to make sure that you're taking your walks and getting a little bit of sun every day, right? You still want to ensure that you're getting to bed on time at a decent time to get good quality of sleep every day. Do not allow your routine to change just because things have changed with your work, right? And of course, setting boundaries, right? You don't want to, you want to figure out your next steps in a way where, again, it doesn't feel overwhelming, or you don't have a lot of outside noise kind of telling you what you should do, allowing yourself to really lean into that instead of doing what you want to do. Right? And of course, I want you to consider therapy or coaching. Again, therapy is about gaining insight into how you really got to this point, right? And for career transitions, it might be, right? How did I get to the point where I chose this particular company? How did I get to the point where I chose to do this particular work? Right? And then once you've gained a lot of insight into that, you're ready to be coached in meeting your goals as far as like the next steps, right? So I'm going to leave you all with this, some affirmations for change, right? If you have been laid off, if you're going through a transition, if you feel stuck, right? If you're unsure about any transitions that may or may not happen, right? An affirmation for you might be, opportunities are always available for me, right? I want you to say this in the morning to set the tone for your day. I want you to say it in the evening to self-reflect and remind yourself that opportunities are always available to me. Right? And the second one is, I am not stuck, I am evolving. Right? And the more you say this to yourself, right, the more you're going to act in such a way. The more I tell myself I am not stuck, I'm going to do things to get me unstuck. You see what I'm saying? Right? The more I say to myself, opportunities are always available, the more I'm looking for the opportunities around me. Right? So, what is one thing you do to manage stress during difficult times? I'm curious to know that. Again, if you all need any assistance with navigating your career pivot, career changes, workplace stress, toxic managers, right? Or just trying to figure out, what are my next steps when it comes to my career? Feel free to reach out to me, right? I'm pretty active on Threads. My handle is PLS Counseling. If you need therapy, feel free to reach out to me. I'm licensed in Florida and South Carolina and Georgia really, really, really soon. Right? I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you gained a little bit of insight and tips and help into navigating or preparing for changes in your career. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.